Welcome back to Comic Facts, the channel where comics, movies, and behind-the-scenes storytelling collide. Today, we're breaking down the Avengers and looking at how it actually works as a film, from its character, juggling, and team dynamics to the structure that turned a risky crossover into a cinematic phenomenon. Whether you're here for the comics, the movies, or just love great storytelling, let's assemble the facts and find out why the Avengers works. Marvel's journey toward the Avengers began in the mid-2000s, when the company made a bold decision to produce its own movies rather than licensing its characters to other studios. After years of seeing characters like Spider-Man and the X-Men thrive outside Marvel's direct control, Marvel Studios wanted to build a shared cinematic universe that connected its heroes under one long-term vision. This was a risky move financially and creatively, especially since Marvel had recently faced bankruptcy and was rebuilding its brand. The experiment officially began in 2008 with Iron Man, a film that not only introduced Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, but also laid the foundation for something bigger. The now famous post-credits scene featuring Nick Fury teased the idea of an interconnected universe and the formation of the Avengers Initiative. Around the same time, The Incredible Hulk was released, further expanding Marvel's lineup even though the studio was still figuring out tone, continuity, and audience expectations. Marvel Studios then committed fully to a long-term plan known as Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Films like Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, the first Avenger, were designed not only as standalone origin stories, but as puzzle pieces in a larger narrative. Each movie introduced key characters, concepts, and organizations like SHIELD, slowly training audiences to expect crossover storytelling on a scale never attempted before in film. Behind the scenes, Marvel's leadership, including producer Kevin Feige, worked to keep the expanding universe cohesive. Directors, writers, and actors had to coordinate storylines, timelines, and character arcs so that everything would align when the heroes finally came together. There were also challenges with casting, creative direction, and tone-balancing humor, action, and character depth across multiple franchises while ensuring the Avengers would feel like a natural payoff rather than a gimmick. By the time the Avengers approached release in 2012, Marvel had successfully built anticipation through world-building, marketing, and fan engagement. What once seemed like an ambitious gamble had turned into a cultural event, the first major superhero crossover film to unite multiple standalone franchises into one epic team-up. The movie represented not just a blockbuster release, but the culmination of years of planning, experimentation, and a new model for franchise filmmaking. With all of that groundwork laid, The Avengers doesn't waste any time paying it off. The film opens by immediately activating the larger story Marvel had been building toward, shifting from setup to execution. Rather than easing the audience in, the first act throws us straight into the conflict, signaling that this isn't another origin story, it's the collision point of everything that came before. The story begins at a SHIELD research facility, where scientists are experimenting with the Tesseract, an object previously introduced in Captain America, the first Avenger. This moment reinforces Marvel's interconnected approach, using a familiar artifact to anchor the film's opening. When the Tesseract suddenly activates, it creates a portal that allows Loki to arrive on Earth, instantly establishing him as the central antagonist and tying the threat to the cosmic side of the MCU. Loki's attack is efficient and unsettling. He steals the Tesseract, takes control of key SHIELD personnel using his mind control staff, and forces Nick Fury into damage control mode. This inciting incident defines the film's stakes early on. Earth is vulnerable, SHIELD is unprepared, and the threat is far beyond what any single hero can handle alone. Fury's response is clear: the Avengers Initiative is no longer theoretical. From there, the first act focuses on assembling the team rather than uniting it. Black Widow is pulled from an undercover mission, Captain America is brought back into modern combat, and Tony Stark is approached not as Iron Man, but as a potential liability who still needs convincing. Each recruitment scene reflects the characters' personalities and past films, reinforcing that these heroes exist in separate worlds that haven't yet learned how to coexist. By the end of the first act, the Avengers has clearly defined its mission: stop Loki, recover the Tesseract, and prevent a looming invasion. But just as importantly, it establishes the film's real challenge, not defeating the villain, but figuring out how a group of powerful, stubborn individuals can function as a team. This sets the stage for the conflicts, clashes, and character growth that will drive the rest of the movie forward. The second act of the Avengers shifts the focus from assembling the team to testing whether it can actually function. With Loki captured after his confrontation with Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, the Avengers appear to have the upper hand, but this is quickly revealed to be part of Loki's plan. He allows himself to be taken aboard the helicarrier, knowing that the real damage will come from turning the heroes against one another. Much of this act is driven by character conflict rather than action. Trapped in close quarters, the Avengers begin to clash over ideology, ego, and trust. Tony Stark questions SHIELD's intentions. Steve Rogers challenges Stark's recklessness, and Bruce Banner struggles to keep the Hulk under control. Loki exploits these tensions through manipulation, using the staff's influence and psychological pressure to push the team closer to breaking apart. The helicarrier sequence becomes the turning point of the film. Loki's allies launch an attack, disabling key systems and forcing each Avenger into a crisis moment. Hawkeye's mind control is broken, but the cost is high. Banner transforms into the Hulk, Thor is temporarily removed from the fight, and the ship itself begins to fall apart. The Avengers are scattered both physically and emotionally, highlighting just how fragile the team still is. This act also delivers the film's most important loss with the death of Agent Coulson. His death serves as the emotional wake-up call the team needs, grounding the conflict and reminding them what's at stake. Coulson represents the everyday human cost of their failures, and his absence leaves a lasting impact on characters like Fury, Steve, and Tony. By the end of the second act, the Avengers have failed their first real test. Loki is still in control, the Tesseract has been used to open a gateway above New York, and the team is fractured. But that failure becomes the catalyst for growth, setting up the third act where the Avengers finally move past their differences and begin to operate as a true team. The third act of the Avengers delivers the payoff Marvel had been building towards since the beginning of the MCU. The battle shifts to New York City, where Loki uses the Tesseract to open a portal above Stark Tower, allowing the Chitauri army to invade Earth. For the first time, the threat is fully realized on a global scale, turning the conflict from a personal struggle into an all-out war that demands unity. This is the moment where the Avengers finally come together as a team. After regrouping, each character embraces a clear role. Captain America takes command, Iron Man provides air support, Thor holds the line against the Chitauri forces, Black Widow works to close the portal, Hawkeye controls the battlefield from above, and the Hulk becomes the team's most powerful weapon. The iconic tracking shot of the Avengers in action visually reinforces this shift, showing them operating in sync rather than at odds. The act also reinforces the film's core theme of choice and sacrifice. When the World Security Council launches a nuclear missile toward New York, Tony Stark makes the decision to carry it through the portal, knowing he may not survive. This moment redefines Stark as a hero, contrasting his earlier selfishness with a willingness to give his life for others. His fall back through the portal, saved only by the Hulk, serves as the emotional climax of the battle. With the portal closed and the Chitauri defeated, Loki is finally captured, and the immediate threat is neutralized. The Avengers' victory feels earned not because they overpowered the enemy, but because they learned how to work together. Each character's arc reaches a natural resting point, reflecting growth without fully resolving their individual journeys. The film closes by emphasizing both resolution and continuation. The Avengers go their separate ways, the team technically disbanded but permanently changed. More importantly, the world now knows superheroes exist and that they can unite when needed. The Avengers ends not just as a conclusion to Phase 1, but as proof that Marvel's shared universe experiment worked, setting the stage for everything that followed. Now, there are 3 key reasons why the Avengers succeeded, both as a film and as a cultural moment. First, the film succeeded because of its long-term setup and payoff. Marvel didn't rush the crossover. It spent years introducing each hero in separate films, allowing audiences to form attachments before bringing them together. The Avengers feels rewarding because it capitalizes on that investment, constantly referencing past events, relationships, and character traits without needing to re-explain them. Viewers weren't just watching a new movie, they were seeing a promise fulfilled. Second, the film understood that character mattered more than spectacle. While the action is large-scale, the real driving force of the story is conflict between the heroes themselves. The second act is almost entirely built around clashing personalities, moral disagreements, and ego. This approach grounded the film emotionally and made the eventual teamwork in the third act feel earned. The Avengers don't start as a team, they become one, and that transformation is what keeps the audience engaged. Third, The Avengers nailed its tone. The film balances humor, drama, and action in a way that made superhero blockbusters feel fun without being weightless. Joss Whedon's dialogue gave each character a distinct voice, while the film's pacing ensured that no single hero dominated the story. This tonal balance made the movie accessible to casual audiences while still rewarding longtime fans, helping it break out beyond comic book circles and redefine what a shared cinematic universe could be. To wrap things up, it's also important to acknowledge that The Avengers wasn't without its flaws, and both fans and critics pointed out several issues even at the height of its success. One common criticism was that Loki, while charismatic, lacked the depth of a truly complex villain. His motivations are relatively simple compared to later MCU antagonists, and much of his threat comes from manipulation rather than personal stakes, which left some viewers wanting a more emotionally grounded conflict. Another frequent critique involved the film's visual style and action choreography. While the Battle of New York was ambitious, some felt the CGI-heavy sequences aged quickly, especially when compared to later Marvel films with more refined effects. Others argued that the action favored spectacle over clarity at times, making certain moments feel chaotic rather than impactful. This was particularly noticeable during large-scale destruction scenes where civilian consequences were glossed over. The film also faced criticism for how it handled certain characters. Hawkeye spends much of the movie under mind control, limiting his agency, while Black Widow's arc relies on vague references to her past rather than meaningful development. Some fans felt that the ensemble nature of the film inevitably left a few characters underserved, especially when compared to the more detailed treatment given to Iron Man and Captain America. Finally, there were tonal criticisms. While many praised the humor, others felt it occasionally undercut dramatic moments, breaking tension with jokes at inopportune times. This balance between comedy and seriousness became a recurring debate within the MCU, and The Avengers was one of the first films to face that scrutiny. Even with these issues, The Avengers remains a landmark film not because it's perfect, but because it proved something unprecedented could work. By successfully uniting multiple franchises into a single coherent story, it reshaped blockbuster filmmaking and set the standard for modern cinematic universes. And that's what makes The Avengers not just a successful movie, but a turning point in film history. Thanks for watching Comic Facts. If you enjoyed the breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into comics and movies, and let us know what film we should tackle next. Until then, keep reading, keep watching, and keep the facts assembled.